who is this person? I'm Laura's substitute for today. So I'm Jimmy. I'm based out in London. Yeah, work as a giant leadership guide. Same as Laura, same as Claire. So yeah, excited. It's great to be here with you guys today. So are we waiting on a few more, Claire?
Yeah, there is a couple, but we can just see how everyone is. Oh, it looks like we might have three in together. So how many of you are together, Sarah? Just three? They might not be able to hear.
Oh, I don't know if they can hear us.
Yeah, it sometimes takes a minute to go through the speaker.
Oh, there's
Just
three.
three. Okay.
So where I've got a list of names. I'm trying to put names to faces. So for the three people in the rooms, there's Sarah's in there. Who else is in the room with? Who else is in the room?
Karen and Carl. I'll just amend
Great,
the names on there.
great, brilliant.
What is that? Open day. I think the mic is.
There we go. We can hear you.
Oh, you can. Cool. There we go.
Yes,
It's good.
brilliant. Great. Shall we jump in then? Shall we get started?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Great. Well, wonderful to be with you guys today. So you guys are working your way through the altitude kind of series, session 18, 19. Is that kind of what everyone's been watching? Yeah. Five gears. How do we find five gears?
Yeah. Yeah.
Enjoying five gears. It's always good. Um, great. So I am going to share my screen. There we go. Going to ask the classic. Can everyone see it?
Yes, thank you.
Beautiful. I did a session about a couple of months ago, and I managed to go through the whole session when everyone was so polite. Got to the end of the session, and someone said, "Oh, there's some slides that you can send out of what you've talked about." Hadn't been able to see anything I've done. I was like, "Excellent." So, as far as today goes, we're going to talk through kind of five gears, and we're going to think about that. I really love five gears as a tool, just for thinking about that idea about what does it look like to be over present or over productive. Um, there's a quote. See if I can get it to actually work. There we go. So this is Jim Elliot quote. Wherever you are, be all there. And I like to think kind of slightly shamelessly stole that from the Bible. So Ezekiel 11:19, this sort of same thing. I will give them an undivided heart. I don't know about you, but when I look at five gears, I end up feeling quite guilty. In as much as that my wife will often talk about being in the room but not being in the room, that I'm multitasking multiple things. And interestingly, when I talk about five gears with my wife, some of you might resonate with this. She'll talk about like the mental load that she's in that second gear space. She's down, she's playing with the kids, but she's kind of working through the to-do list in her head that, oh yeah, I've got to order that and I've got to sort this out. That actually being in one gear at one time. So yeah, that idea about being either present or being productive and kind of making that kind of that intentional choice. And with all of this stuff, it really comes down to that idea of intentionality. Um, so liberating leaders build cultures where their people can be both present and productive. We're going to think a little bit about that today. So first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear. When you were watching this, did this all kind of make sense to you? Anybody have any kind of big questions off the back of it? Um, I always think with this, one of the things that's really helpful is being able to identify what are your natural gears, what are the ones that you kind of default to, and which are the ones that actually you struggle with that little bit more. So I know that for me, fourth gear is my magnet. I get
Yeah.
sucked into fourth gear, that idea of doing multiple things at once. So Five Voices wise, I'm a pioneer connector. So that idea about how do we solve things, how do we problem solve, how do we kind of get the answers, that's often where my kind of default goes. Even when you're shifting into third gear, again, my wife likes to keep me accountable. She says it's okay to have a conversation without an agenda. And in kind of third gear, I think for some of us we find third gear that little bit harder. That actually for some of us almost having kind of recognizing that third gear is that really important gear. It's where people try us on. It's where people figure out whether they like us or not. Um, Equally, second gear. I know that I'm really bad at second gear. That kind of often, kind of, I think second gear, kind of, you think about kind of family. So think like date night with your significant other. Um, so I know that kind of my default. Sometimes I go into date night and we'll talk about what we're doing this week and what does the diary look like and kind of what are we doing with the kids. And there's this moment that we're not doing second gear, we're doing fourth gear. That I think often for me, one of the big revelations with five gears is that idea that we think about it in a work setting, but it so easily translates across into the rest of our life. First gear is one of those ones where I think, again, especially for the pioneers, for the guardians, for the creative pioneers in the group, first gear is often one of those ones which we struggle with a little bit more. And that often the things that we think we're doing, which are first gear, we can bleed into other gears so easily. So I'll give you two kind of silly examples. So the first one is great, I've got a bit of off time. Okay, I'm going to sit down. Oh, actually, no, I'm just going to chuck the washing on for 2 seconds. Oh, I just need to quickly. I'm just going to screw that thing in, and I know I'm going to just grab that letter, and I'm doing fourth gear just around the house with tasks. I'll give you another silly example. So I'm quite into my running, and what I'd find is that I'd go out for a run, and that would be my first gear activity. But I'd chuck on an audiobook, and the audiobook that I'd listen to would be about leadership theories. And I'd be sat there and I'd be planning out a talk that I was going to do with a client the next week while I was on my run. And so I just hijacked my first gear space and I turned it into a fourth gear or even a fifth gear activity. So with this, being able to identify what are our go-to gears and what are the gears that maybe we struggle with more, I think that's really helpful. That's one of the things which we want to get you guys to think about today. So, Claire, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. What does your gear order look like for this? Oh, you're
So my tendency is four. I mean, I just, I live in four, previously lived in four, and had to make a real effort for two and five. But one thing I did find, particularly with sort of young children, is that with them, you're not going to be spending hours in connect mode. It's remembering to have those little minutes um, to get connection in kind of where you can.
No, definitely. I think with all of this, it's being intentional. What's the gear which I want to be in now, and what does it look like to be kind of fully in that gear? So as kind of Jeremy was talking through on the video, he talked about that kind of underusing certain gears and overusing other gears. And he talked about kind of various different ways that you can kind of trigger yourself to be in the right gear at the right time. So he talked about kind of it might be like when you pass a certain point, so it might be a petrol station or it might be a kind of junction in the road. I know that kind of when I used to work up in town when I'm in London, when I'd pull into the tube stop near our house, I knew that I had a 15-minute walk back to our house, and that would be that trigger in my mind that kind of it's time to switch gear. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop you into groups, and we're going to get you guys to think about your gears. So the first question is kind of what is your gear order? So what does your priority look like? What's the easiest gear for you? What's your default? Through to what's the one which is the biggest struggle for you? And then what are you doing in the gears that is undermining your influence? So Claire's going to pop you into groups, and then we'll come back and we'll feedback.
Yeah.
So how do we do for that? So I'm gonna pick on some people. Larissa, let's start with you. How's your How was your 5 gears? What came top? What came bottom?
Um, mine is mine is a bit reflective of what my day looks like going from the top downwards. So although the first two are the other way around. So I think everyone who has got children, as we were on the call, can testify. You start the day in fourth gear, running at top speed, doing as many things as you possibly can in the shortest space of time. And then kind of when they're like gone to school and the kids are out of the house, and then you need to start thinking about work again, you're still thinking, right, what have I got to do today, trying to multitask, and can you get the dishwasher done before prayers start in the morning or at the same time potentially, um with your microphone off. And then I definitely work a lot better in the morning. So if I've got kind of fifth gear stuff, like really urgent emergency stuff, I try and get that done as early as possible so that then that's like ticked off my list. And then I can go back to fourth gear of doing lots of things. I think we all said third gear is a more difficult one. If you're really busy, third gear feels a bit like I don't really have time for chit chat. Whereas then for me, like the end of the day, so I finish my day at 3, so I can go and get my girls from school. And then that kind of driving to school is like whack on some very loud music, try and de-stress from my work day and think, right, pick up my kids, what now do they have to do after school, and what do I need to cook, and what do we need to sort out? But then trying to be intentional about giving them my time. And then evenings, yeah, kind of trying to spend intentional time with family, like in sort of gear 2. And then once the kids have gone to bed, trying to be a bit intentional about just chilling, reading a book, or chatting with my husband if I'm in gear 1. Although what I also said is you need to recognize what gear somebody else is in. So if you're in gear 1 and you want to have a nice chat, I know that if my husband is in gear 5, which he often is in the evenings, madly trying to finish all his emails, there is literally not one, like just no point in me trying to talk to him, because he is so focused on what he's doing that I just get annoyed that he's not talking to me. So I know that if he's like that, I just leave him alone, and I will have gear 1 time with him at another point when he's not got a laptop open.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, I think the recognizing when people are in a different gear to what you are, and especially that kind of that fourth gear. Me and Claire were talking about this kind of while you guys were out in the breakout room. That fourth gear often feels like a gear which we're in control of. But actually, so often it's a reactive mode. So I'm going to do some emails, but then Claire emails me back, and I go, "Oh, I'll just reply to Claire. Claire just got to hijack my day. She's just rewritten my agenda." Or you know what, I'm going to work on this talk right now, but then I get a call, and actually again somebody else is setting my agenda, and you know that kind of in your work in your personal life as well as your work life, that idea of intentionality is so important. Um, let's come over, Leanne. What did you come up with?
I was actually with Larissa and Rich, so similar sort of kind of bits of conversation, really. Definitely kind of recognizing that small children do force you very much into fourth gear, and then it's actually quite hard to get out of that. Like, I think I've talked to my husband quite a lot about this in the last couple of months. Like the sense of rush
Yeah,
is actually really hard to turn off. So even when you do get the time to maybe do gear 5 or 2, it's actually really, really hard to be present in it because you feel
yeah,
like you should be doing 17 other things. So I guess, yeah, just having recognized that being stuck in goal 4 is actually probably not massively healthy. And also just that you get less productive in goal 4 if you're stuck in the kind of like anxious rush of golf
yeah,
of being a gear 4.
yeah,
So that would be kind of, yeah, my reflections.
yeah. No, definitely. I mean, I think that second gear in particular. So there's a theory which is called the 3 levels of listening, and actually the idea about really intentionally being in gear 2. That actually the tendency sometimes, and as a pioneer, I know this, you can do what's called transient listening. So I am listening to you, but I'm kind of just waiting for my turn to talk. And I've got something that I need to tell you, or I want to try and fix the problem, or whatever that is. The flip end of that, which again, like lots of us will be guilty of, is what's called transactional listening, which is that, you know what, I am here for you. I am going to listen to your problems. I'm going to like be really present for you, but I'm not actually telling you anything about me and what's going on with me. This is all on you. And so actually for gear two to really work, it's got to be that two-way street. It's got to be what they call transformational listening, where actually I'm sharing with you and you're sharing with me, and we're both intentionally listening within that. But yeah, let's do one more. Let's do Kate.
Hi. Yeah, so in terms of like my order of priority, I've given myself like my favorite is 2, 5, 4, 3, 1, and R. So I do really like sort of, I think as a green, like just get into like those kind of deeper conversations. I don't genuinely love like 3, although I think I'm getting a bit better at like acknowledging that it does have like a purpose, and there's like times in which that is more necessary than like get into a really deep conversation. And equally, yeah, as a writer, I do love like some good quality Gear 5 time of like just got my headphones on, I can ignore the rest of the world and do some creative writing. I think in reality I probably have like more Gear 4 time, both like work personally, than like I think I'm quite that's probably more of like a learned skill, but I am quite good at multitasking, and like I do love a checklist. So it's kind of that weird balance of like I know that Gear 5 is good and I know how to recharge and I find that, but actually equally I can get swayed into more Gear 4.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's sort of my reflections.
I think, I mean, it's one of the things that Jeremy talks about in the video, isn't it? Is that idea about kind of almost diary blocking. So actually, if you
Mm.
know that the kind of the temptation is to get sucked out of fifth gear and into fourth gear, how do you make space for that fifth gear? So one of the most practical things that I've ever found for fifth gear is when you know that you need to be in fifth gear, block it in the diary so
Mm.
nobody else can book something in. Like put it as like a meeting with JD. It's a meeting with me. Like nobody else needs to know that that's what it means. But people will look and go, oh, he's in a meeting. Turn the Wi-Fi off on your computer. That means nobody can email, no one can come in. Turn airplane mode on off your phone.
Mm.
If you know that you're likely to be distracted by other stuff. So I mean, I know that I'm a sucker for an Instagram hole. And so I think last Christmas, there's a thing which you can get which is called a brick that kind of sticks to your fridge. And you can basically set it. So for me, at 8 o'clock in the morning, it clicks on. And other than like phone and like text, I can't access anything on my phone. It becomes a brick. And you can pick which apps you want to do it. And all I need to do is walk to the fridge and tap the fridge, and it will reset my entire phone and I can carry on.
Mm.
But so often I just need that little break that goes, no, I'm in fifth gear, stay in fifth gear.
Yeah.
But yeah, so finding that thing. Um, the only other thing to pick up on kind of what you're saying is the third gear. I'm sure there's other people in the room where third gear is I understand why it's important, but I'm not a big fan of it. One of the tools which you'll kind of come onto is what's called the influence model. And it's recognizing that for a huge chunk of people, that third gear, I talked earlier about like it's where people try you on, but it's where
Mm.
people figure out whether they can trust you. It's whether do
Mm.
I like you? That actually if you walk in and somebody's really cold and they don't want to talk, it's very unlikely that we go to a pub and I go, oh, meet my friend Jake, and you go, let's jump into some second gear time. Like
Yeah.
that third gear is the space you're going to be in. So there's a model which I know that I find helpful and lots of other people find helpful, which is called the Harvard Form method. So it's an acronym. So F stands for family. So ask them a question about their family. If you don't know anything about their family, oh, like you've got brothers and sisters, like do your parents live close? But find a question like, how's your mum doing? She was having surgery, wasn't she? Then the O is occupation. So ask them something about their work. If it's kind of if you're doing it over coffee, like, oh, how's that project that you're working on? Like, did you ever manage to hear back from so and so? But you're asking them a question about work. R is recreation. Again, if you don't know anything about like what do you do at the weekend? Like, what do you do for
Mm.
fun? But if you do know, oh, you're into running, like, oh, you're doing a half marathon, that's exciting. Like, um, but it's giving you kind of a bit of a formula. And then the M is it stands for message, but it's kind of a sign off. But what you're essentially doing is you pick one of the things that they talked about, and you so like, oh, you have to let me know how your mum's surgery goes, or oh, you'll have to let me know how your half marathon goes.
Mm.
And what you're essentially saying is, I listened to you, and we're going to have another conversation about this in the future. But it's if you struggle with that small talk, that's a really easy formula to kind of work through in your head. So it doesn't feel like it's kind of unpredictable. Like you know the next question that's coming up. And
Yeah.
often people they'll mirror it back to you. So when you go, oh, like, how's your mum? They'll go, oh, like your sister was staying, weren't they? Like that kind of,
Mm.
so it's kind of giving you a kind of a structure, a formula. So that's hopefully helpful. Um,
Mm.
Brilliant. So we're gonna go on and do a couple more slides, and we'll kind of come to others in the next breakout. So I think you guys have already looked at this tool, the kind of 5 circles of influence. But I always think that idea about being intentional rather than accidental, it's so easy to kind of end out kind of chasing the fires. I kind of describe it a little bit like it's like walking into a supermarket without a shopping list and just going, I'm going to jump on the phone with my other half and they're just going to shout things out and I'll just run to those things. That actually often what ends up happening is that when we're in that space, it's that kind of accidental. So, oh yeah, I need to spend some time for me, so I'll do that. But oh, I've actually got to do some stuff for the family. And, oh no, I've actually got to like do some stuff for work. And you're running between them without that intentionality of okay, well, which space do I need to be in? And actually there's an importance level to that. So that inner circle, it's so easy that we put ourselves last. That kind of how do I naturally rest? How do I naturally recharge? That family space, I know that I'm really guilty. I've got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. I don't know if any of you guys are Bluey fans, some young kids. I watch Bluey with awe, and I'm like, you know what? I am going to be Bandit. I am going to be that super present dad because actually I know that my temptation is I'm going to get sucked into like fixing something or doing something or being overproductive. So actually, what does it look like to be really present in those moments? Um, something that kind of Laura was saying as she was kind of working through this with the group yesterday is that idea that when it comes to team, especially for some of the kind of feelers in the group, your tendency is always going to be that you want to be fair. You want to have like you want to get to everyone in your team, but actually, who are the core people? So she kind of talks about your square squad, but like who are your people and how are you being intentional in making the time? So could you write a list of like 4 or 5 people in your team who actually these are the people who I want to invest into? And it's not that the other people aren't important, but actually the more people that you're trying to invest into, the more people you're trying to do that second gear time with, or the more diluted it becomes across the board. It's not that you do it really well with some people and kind of a bit more averagely with others. It just dilutes across the board. Um, then you've got organization, then you've got community on the outside. Um, yeah, there's Craig Groeschel quote: "Focus on energy. Time is finite. Energy is a replenishable source. You can't create more time. You can create more energy." I know that for me, one of the things that I often come back to is this idea that every time you say yes to something else, it means you're saying no to something else. And so actually figuring out what are the things I can say no to that in turn allow me to say a better yes to something else. Um, so first gear, that kind of, I think for lots of us, first gear is often the one which we struggle with. But kind of you've got a number of different ways that you can do first gear. So it might be physical. So I know that for me, I'm kind of quite active. So I used to kind of say I'd go out running and that would be my first gear time. But then, like I said, I recognized that I was listening to audiobooks about leadership stuff, and I was like, okay, this isn't it. So I got myself a kind of weights bench, and I was like, I'm going to do this because actually, it's so absorbing that I can't do anything else in that moment. So actually, what are the things that might be physical that enable you to do that? Are there emotional things? So it might be journaling, it might be kind of taking time with kind of quality people, mental or creative. So yeah, are there things that you can do that kind of that stimulating input? Um, And then spiritual, actually like taking out that time, that kind of quiet time, whatever that looks like. Um, that, oh, it's going to flash. That's always good, isn't it? There we go. Oh, apparently it's just going to flash. There we go. So if you are the kind of person who you know that you struggle with that first gear, being really intentional in it. So there's a whole bunch of stuff here that you might be able to like pick one of these. I know that Laura talks about like doing a jigsaw puzzle. That actually, if she's doing a jigsaw puzzle, it kind of what is it that stops you naturally getting drawn into that fourth gear space? What's the thing that kind of keeps you in that moment? And yeah, kind of as we, I mean, you can take a screenshot of that. I think they share the slides afterwards, Claire.
Not generally. We just say if they want to take a screen.
Yes, if you want to take a photo of that, feel free. But yeah, like all the way through this, essentially, this is a kind of know yourself to lead yourself moment. That actually, if you're not taking time to do that first gear time, it will bleed into everything else. That one of the things that I always think is really important is that with first gear, if it's not done intentionally, you don't end out like refreshing, you end up crashing. So if you think about your phone, when you watch that phone battery dip down, I don't know about you, I get a little bit competitive and I'm like, "Oh, I can live through 12%. I reckon I can make it to the end of the day." But when your phone dies, even if you're literally physically plugging it in at the same time, it's too late. It's going to take a couple of minutes to turn back on. And actually, for lots of us, I think that first gear space, we do that we wait until we're literally out of juice. And you'll see this like when you break up for holiday or kind of Christmas or whatever else, you immediately get ill because you basically have just run into a brick wall that you kind of, I've just got to get to this space and then I can finally stop. So how do you build in that space, that regular rhythm where each day you are spending that time to do that first gear? So what we're going to get you guys to do is we are going to pop you back into your groups and we're going to get you to think about the kind of core response. So what is something what's your kind of takeaway within this? What is something that what pattern can you change? What's something when you think about the 5 gears that you want to move from maybe that accidental space into that intentional space? And where is sort of something, yeah, where you can be maybe more present rather than productive. So yeah, we'll put you back into groups and then we'll come back and share off the back of that. Welcome back. Great. Let's get some feedback. So Leanne, yeah, sorry, we did Leanne last time. Sorry, Rich, come to you.
Thanks, Jimmy. Yeah, my to totally get the Bluey story. Fourth gear with the kids is also a challenge, as in not just living in that to get stuff done so you can get everything done. Talked about that quite a lot. In terms of change, the biggest change I made recently was I went down to 4 days a week, but spread it over 5 to try and build margin, to try and facilitate connection and recharge. So that's still there. I'm trying to go into the office, and then the other change is to try and go to the office once a week to see people. So I think parents, especially with young kids, work is really functional because you don't have time to breathe. Trying to move into a slightly different phase where I'm less of a robot and I get to just appreciate people and be with them a bit. But yeah, it's all challenging. There's gives and takes. Like phases of life require certain pressures, and it won't be perfect, but it's trying to not die in the process. So I like fifth gears a lot. I really do. It's a helpful analogy tool. So that's me.
Yeah. So there's a theory which is called the collision points theory, I think it is, but they use the analogy of like bumper cars, that actually you need to have the opportunity to bump up against other people, and actually that's where a lot of our productivity happens. So the example I always give is kind of if you think before the smoking ban kind of came in, that if your boss smoked and you didn't smoke, you weren't getting a promotion because you'd go out to have a cigarette and your boss would be there and he'd be like, "Oh, Jimmy, good to see you. What are you working on at the moment?" "Oh, I'm working on this at the moment." "Oh, I've been meaning to ask someone about that." And they had that question, but ultimately, like you just happened to be in the right place to bump up against them. And so often I think that exactly as you say, like we try and cram, we try and be really productive, so we kind of do lots of fifth gear time, but it's realizing that actually like you might have something you're really stuck on, and just by being in the office and doing some third gear time, someone goes, "Oh, what are you working on?" You go, "I'm working on this at the moment." They go, "Oh, you know what, we've written a whole bunch of stuff for that, like you need to chat to." So yeah, it's almost it's recognizing the value of that. But yeah, Sarah, let's come over to you.
So I generally in gear for multitasking, but I think that's the nature of my job, a service team. So but I'm gonna try and be more present with the team and be more present at home as well. It's very hard working in a service team, you tend to have lots of things going on. And it's I suppose it's a bit like the saying, jack of all trades, master of none. And I do have a lot of that going on. But sometimes it's just okay, you need to focus. You need to focus on this. And we were having a bit of a laugh earlier and we talked counting a secret this morning. So if I'm working and I see a Teams message pop up, I'll read it quickly and then I'll mark it as unread.
Yeah.
And then no one's even thinks I've read it, you see. And as you could do that. And then the person that sent you ain't going to keep on because it's like, well, you haven't read it yet, so I'll wait. And I'm going to try and do that a bit more. But try and just be more focused for the team, really. You want to know a secret now, so you'll be harping on at me. But yeah, I think sometimes it's like, because I'm in the team I'm in, the boys tend to come along and say, "Oh, what about this? What about this?" And then it's like, "Oh, go away, I'm busy." And I just want to be able to sort of deal with it a little bit better, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think as a nurturer, one of the big things around that is often it's the fear of saying no, that actually saying no to people. Um, and there's a brilliant book by a guy called Alexandra Bant called The Not Doing List, where he talks about that shift to, instead of thinking about all the things that you've got to do, think about the things that actually, like, by saying no to this, that frees me up to do it. And he talks about kind of the five fears that hold people back from saying no. So the kind of fear of missing out is a big one. Like, what happens if something really important happens in it? What will be a big one for nurturers is the kind of fear of other people not liking you. It might lead to conflict. So like if you're trying to get hold of me and I say no, like you might be upset at me about that. Like, so I don't want that. I want the harmony. And so I'm gonna say yes because that helps everyone to feel happy and part of the team. Fear of not looking busy. That like, well, you haven't read my message in 3 days. Like, what are you even doing? Like that almost there's that kind of like, I don't want to say no to things because I want to make it look like I'm kind of pulling my weight. Again, nurturers and guardians, fear of change is a big one. Like we've always done it this way. I've always like responded to messages really quickly. So that idea of intentionally changing. And the other one is kind of like the fear of failure. So actually, like I do this because I'm good at it. Like it makes me feel valued. It makes me feel part of the team. Like I quite like the fact that everyone in the team comes to me and asks me questions. And if I start saying no to that, I'm going to end up doing something else. And actually, I might not be as good at that. That might not make me feel as valued. So I'm going to kind of keep doing the thing I'm good at because, like, I'm afraid of what that other thing might be. So yeah, so I think the finding good ways to be able to say no to stuff where we don't necessarily feel guilty about it. Yeah, they talk about the kind of three other ways to say no. Is one of them is around your greatest good. So actually, in this moment, if I could pick one task, what would be the task this morning that I could do, which is going to see the biggest impact, is going to move the dial? Because actually, when somebody pings you a message or whatever else, they don't know that you're doing that task. We sometimes think that we do, but actually they don't. So being able to kind of remind them that, like, actually, this is the greatest good in what I can do right now. Delaying things, like even if you say, look, I haven't got space to get to this now, but I'll check my calendar and I'll touch back in with you tomorrow. That's absolutely fine. Or I can't do this right now, but I'll get to it next week. That's saying no, but it's pushing it through. giving alternatives. You know what, I'm really busy at the moment, but why don't you chat to Carl? I think he might be able to help you. So yeah, there's Carl's like, no, I'm not. But yeah, so I think that's especially for nurturers, like learning how to say no and not feel bad about that is a huge part of this. Seeing as I've just dropped you on it, Carl, I'm going to come to you if that's all right. What did you come
Hello.
up with?
Similar to Sarah, really. I work in the service desk, so it's very task orientated. But I was saying this morning actually that I spent a bit of Gear 5 time, because I had somebody's personal development review to fill out. And I manage just two people, but a lot of the time my attention shifts between, what they may need from me. But this morning I just decided to sod it. I keep pushing it down the line, this particular job onto the next day. So I'm going to put my headphones in. And even though I could like visually see, I mean, whereas Sarah could just, leave something unread to the corner of my eye, I could see that they look up occasionally wanting something, but I just figure I'll give them a little nod of acknowledgement and then carry on sort of typing in the least rudest way possible to get it done. But I often find that switch between doesn't really matter what gear it is for me. If I'm deep in focus and it takes me a while to kind of go on to, maybe gear free socializing or just trying to help with small little tasks. So I think I read on the Giant platform one of the courses earlier this week that you could set yourself little reminders, like almost like a countdown timer or whatever, to then switch into another gear. So I'm going to try and be a little bit more intentional and disciplined with my time so that I have time to kind of switch between different gears. For me, like when I go home, I can quite easily switch into just chill out time because I'm quite, I'll shut my laptop down and that's it, and I'll switch my phone off. But if I've had a particularly stressful day, and I think you spoke about a date night or something, if I've a particularly stressful day, then I'm kind of sat at a dinner table or a couple of drinks, not really present yet because I'm still frazzled from the day. So I need to recognize when that's happening and find a way to kind of, ease into more of a sort of wind down territory.
Yeah, that's good. And then we'll jump into Alex.
Hey, that was I was with Kate in the room, and I have to say the Bluey thing I always love because that was one of the few. Usually, when I watch TV shows like Peppa Pig and stuff, I'm like, I relate to no parent here. I do not relate to this family on any level. And then when I first watched Bluey, I was like, boom, these are my people. Finally, I feel seen. And so I have the reverse problem where my natural instinct is more to be like Bandit, and that's just to play with the kids, really. So actually getting into a mindset of doing work and stuff like that is actually sometimes quite hard because at no point in my life will I ever look back on my deathbed and been like, wish I'd updated Monday.com more. Man, I really wish I did more work. No, never. It'll always be really wish I'd traveled more, wish I'd spent more time with the kids. So actually getting to that work gear in the morning is sometimes a real big like threshold thing of moving from one space into the next. Um, but little things do help, like turning off my phone. I think your idea of doing that was a great idea because that just makes me so ADHD. It's almost impossible to start working. And the other thing is like on Fridays, it's like a no meetings Friday. So like my team know we don't do meetings on a Friday. And because there's no meetings, there's no chance for chit chat. There's no chance for weird projects or ideas that pop out of nowhere. I can start at 9 o'clock or 9:15 after prayers, and then get lost into gear 5. And that's one of the best feelings. You enter that flow state and you're like, yes, today was a good work day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the switching off your phone or switching off the Wi-Fi on your laptop for lots of people, often the fear piece is the big thing. Like, what happens if something really important happens? What happens if someone really needs to get hold of me? And I'm like, pretty much the number of things that are so urgent that I need to deal with them right now is so minuscule. Like something happened to like one of the kids, like the school needs to call. They'll call my wife. Like it's okay. Like no one's gonna die in this. But actually, yeah, we kind of I think we're very good at telling ourselves little lies. Um, but yeah. Yeah, there we go. Brick and padlock are great tools for locking phones. Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm a big fan of brick. Great. Karen, I'm aware that kind of we haven't come to you. I'm also aware that we're pretty much at time, so I give you kind of 30 seconds. Sorry to kind of crush you at the end, but what was your feedback?
No pressure at all. Again, I work in a service team and I spend a lot of time in fourth gear. So I know I need to sort of get into that first gear, time to relax and sort of shut down. And I say it's so easy, sort of like at lunchtime, to carry on working at your desk when you're working from home, carry on working, but it's important to have that break away, shut everything down. And again, if I ping with an email, your teenage message, I think I'm tempted to go and answer it. It's so easy to do that. But just allowing this time to give time to yourself.
Yeah, like I think am I being proactive in this? Like, this is the gear I want to be in, and actually, these are the things I need to do to protect that. Or am I being reactive and I'm always going to kind of be bounced around by other people and their agendas as to which gear I kind of feel like I should be in that moment? I think that's huge. Brilliant. Great. Well, let's land there. Hopefully that's been helpful. It's given you some actions for next time. When you are back again, normal service is resumed and Laura will be back. But it's been wonderful spending the time with you. Is there anything else, Claire, that they kind of need to know?
I will send the recording out afterwards. If anybody is booked to be off during half term, because obviously we're scheduled to meet in 2 weeks, could you just ping me an email reply and let me know when that one comes out? That's it from me.
Brilliant.
Great.
Great.
Bye.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you very much.
Bye.
Thanks, Jimmy. Good to see you, mate. Thanks, Claire.
Yeah. See you too, Rich.
Bye.
See you soon.